All right, guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is my 100th episode, believe it or not, and actually it was exactly 2 years ago and one day. It was January 7th, 2 years ago, that I started this podcast and released my first episode ever. And if you've been listening for a long time, I just want to say thank you. The support's been amazing. You know, we're still growing, but the growth has been strong and steady, and I'm really happy with what we've been able to accomplish in a short amount of time here. So I think there's some great content. You know, if you're new, this is your first time listening, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. And please go back and dig into the 100 episodes I got. There's a lot of great guests, a lot of really good content in there. Even, you know, back towards the beginning, I really just would appreciate if you would go back through there, follow along, you know, share episodes with friends and family. And, you know, being that this is the 100th episode, I wanted to just reflect a little bit, not for too long, but, you know, Western hunting, you know, is an important part of my life. Hunting in general is an important part of my life. It always has been. It's a huge passion of mine. It's what really gets me fired up. It's what I love. And Western hunting really has been a catalyst for some just amazing, and real life change in my journey, in my walk, in my journey as a man to become a better person and a better man. And you know, if you go back and listen, or if you've been listening for a while, you probably know some of my story. But you know, I was involved in drugs, and I had a really bad addiction problem at one point, very bad. And then after that, you know, I was able to get clean, went to rehab. Then I gained a ton of weight. I was super overweight. And I'm condensing things quite a bit, but just to give you guys a flavor of my story, if you're new here. But, you know, of course, first and foremost, getting my life back on track with my relationship with God was the first step in that. But then, you know, to be honest, Western hunting played a huge role in me turning my life around, because I always had this desire for adventure. I always had this need to just push my limits and be in nature. And when I found Western hunting through my first trip ever, which actually was in Alaska, it just opened my eyes to the possibilities and what was available to me now that I was in a place where I was healthier. You know, I was not physically dependent on a substance anymore. You know, when my spirituality was growing, when my walk with God was growing, and then it really inspired me and pushed me to get into excellent physical shape to be able to physically do these hunts. So in a lot of ways, spiritually, mentally, and physically, Western hunting has been a huge part of my life and my journey. You know, then I decided, you know, I wanted to kind of share that journey. It's a journey I'm very much still on. As you know, if you've been listening to me for a while, I don't claim to be any kind of expert, you know, amazing Western hunter, because I'm not. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. I've had some great success. I've learned a lot in a short amount of time, but I'm still learning. I'm from the East Coast. And so I think it's kind of cool that, you know, I think I have something to offer people who have been Western hunting a lot, and for their whole lives. But also I think, you know, I can really speak to those guys that were on the journey or are on the journey that I'm on, you know, of self-improvement and just, you know, having this goal of these adventures that are still very much doable and within your reach, even as a quote-unquote normal hunter, you know, and you don't have to wait years to hunt. You don't have to hire a guide if you don't want to. Nothing wrong with it. But if you want to go out there, do it on a budget, do it DIY, and just have an amazing, rewarding experience, it is very much doable. And I know that because I've been able to do it. And trust me, I'm nothing special. If I can do it, you can do it. And that's what kind of want to share with you guys through this whole thing. So, another reason I started the podcast was because in my journey of becoming a Western hunter, podcasts were a huge part of my learning experience, and I learned a ton through podcasts. And really, some of the content that I gravitated towards the most was the stuff that dealt with like physical fitness and really mental toughness, because this wasn't just about learning to hunt. This was an entire life transformation of getting in shape, of eating right, of prioritizing my spiritual health and my spiritual fitness, my family, and just becoming a better person. So I really gravitated towards that mental toughness, physical fitness stuff. Plus, it was the first time I'd really heard that type of content in the context of hunting. The kind of hunting tradition I grew up in, it just didn't really include much of that discussion of self-improvement, mental toughness, fitness. But once you get into the mountain hunting kind of space, you start to run into that stuff more. I really gravitated towards that, and I was like, man, if I could, have a podcast where I not only touch on those topics, but also hit the spirituality side of things, because I see us as humans as triune beings, spirit, soul, and body. And there's lots of great talk about the body and the soul, but no one was really talking much about the spirit. So I thought if I could get some great guests on there, not be super preachy or overbearing or confrontational, but to have spiritual discussions with my guests, to open that topic, and to get people thinking about it, about their spiritual growth and development and their walk with God, whether you're a non-believer or whether you're a strong, Christian who walks out your faith every day. I wanted it to be good hunting content, and content where the spirituality side of our manhood and personhood is addressed. So I think we've done a good job of that, of walking that line and producing some great content. So again, I really encourage you to dig back through the library, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. All the video versions of the podcasts are available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So check those out. Right now, again, thanks for bearing with me. This being my 100th episode, I have a really big announcement I want to make to you guys. So, if you've been listening for a while, I have a background in TV. I've been having more and more guests kind of lately in the outdoor TV kind of space. And so I've been working really hard, and I actually signed a contract a few months ago. I'm going to be launching a new television show on the Sportsman channel in Q3 of 2023, and I'm really excited about it. It's already shaping up to be a great show. I think it's going to be one of the best shows on the channel. I don't want to sound like cocky or anything, but I just it's going to be a really good show. It's going to be focused on adventure hunts, Western hunts, but from the standpoint of an East Coast guy who's learning and doing this on his own, and figuring out as I go. And I want to inspire you guys and show you that it is very much doable. And just, you can go out there and have some great hunts, on some general tags, general units, and it's doable. So I'm very excited about that. Again, that'll be launching on the Sportsman channel in 2023 in Q3. So probably around July. And, one of the things I want to do is half my episodes are going to be hunt films where I actually go out and do a hunt, DIY, Western style hunt. And some hunts may not all be Western hunts. They may be other stuff too as we kind of grow and progress. But most of them will be DIY, Western style hunts, or adventure hunts in other locations. And the other half of the episodes are going to, I really want to draw some attention and celebrate some of the amazing Western hunting content creators that are out there that are on YouTube. If you watch outdoor TV much, it's a lot of it is sort of more focused on whitetail and East Coast and Midwest hunters. And, a lot of guys who are more into the Western hunting side of things, are more into the YouTube kind of space and creators there, guys like, like Brian Call, my friend and mentor, Brian Barney, Remi Warren, these type of guys. So I want to highlight some of those guys who are amazing filmmakers and hunters in the Western hunting space that spend most of their time on YouTube, and kind of bring them over into the world of outdoor TV. So I'm going to be having guests on and doing sort of a podcast style interview based show where I bring on guys like, just like I said, like Brian Barney, Remi Warren, Brian Call, friends that are excellent hunters and content creators in the YouTube space, and mentors of mine, guys I look up to and have learned from, and bring them on the show as a guest, and we will kind of dissect a hunt that they've done, and we'll watch it. We'll talk about what makes great hunt films. We'll talk about, questions that may pop up or arise. Why'd you use that piece of gear there? Why did you decide to go on that stalk and not this one? Just things like that, kind of dive deeper into the hunt and just kind of get like almost a behind the scenes director's cut sort of look at a hunt they've already shot and produced. And then I will, of course, be using that footage that they shot to kind of put bones on the interview, and then we'll be able to actually watch and enjoy a hunt film as well as an interview on the episode. So it's going to be kind of a mixed format, hunt films, and then this sort of podcast style director's cut behind the scenes, watching a hunt film with some of these amazing creators and guys that I've looked up to for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be kind of a unique show. I think it's going to be a really informative and just a great show. So I already have some of those guys I mentioned that kind of agreed to be on the first season. So I hope you guys will tune in if you watch Sportsman Channel, and if you don't, it will also be available on My Outdoors TV. It's an app, and Amazon Prime as well. And then, if you don't want to deal with any of that, you can wait a little bit, and I'm going to be releasing all my episodes on my YouTube channel as well. It'll just be kind of after the fact, but I hope to be able to continue these weekly podcasts as well as bring you this new TV show, but I wanted to announce it on this big kind of 100th episode. I've been working on it for a while, but kind of keeping it hush-hush, and I'm really excited to be able to share it with you guys now and looking forward to bringing that show to life. It's going to be great. So a couple more things here. I'm almost done. Again, as part of this push, I really want to continue to grow the Hunter's Quest podcast, and as part of that, I'm doing a giveaway. So my guest today, you probably already know, is special guest Remi Warren, amazing hunter, amazing dude, kind of a living legend, really, if you really dig into him. But both me and Remi are GOHUNT partners, because GOHUNT's a great company, and so I teamed up with GOHUNT, and we're doing a giveaway. So if you go to my Instagram, if you follow my Instagram account, if you tag a friend on one of the reels from the Remi Warren episode, or the post that's announcing the Remi Warren episode on Sunday, if you tag friends in there, you'll get an entry to win. Every time you tag another friend, you get another entry to win. And if you share it to your story, you will get 3 entries. And if the winner will get a $100 GOHUNT gear shop gift card, a free insider membership, and an outdoor class membership. Now it's $100 worth of gear, an insider membership, which is $150, and then an outdoor class, which is $100. So it's a $350 value. And, that insider membership, I mean, $150 is, a decent amount of money, but it's priceless. I mean, I literally, I'm looking at my computer right now. I have 8 GOHUNT Insider tabs open right now. Now is the time for application season. Now is the time to be figuring out 2023 and beyond. I've been using GOHUNT Insider since before I even had a podcast. It really is an amazing tool. I can't say enough. If you want to get the most out of getting tags, if you want to be able to plan years in advance and really be efficient and be able to get as much hunting opportunity as you can and the best hunting opportunities you can, you have to join Go Hunt Insider. I can't stress it enough. They're not paying me to say this. Like, it's just an amazing tool, and I genuinely use it constantly, and you will not regret paying for it. If you have any inclination to want to go hunt out west, you really need to sign up for Go Hunt Insider. I couldn't do what I do without it in terms of getting multiple tags every year. I literally could not do it without Go Hunt Insider. So if you enter this giveaway, you can win one, by tagging friends in the post about this podcast, or sharing to your story and following on the Instagram. But even if you don't win, if you use the code QUEST to buy an insider membership, you're going to get a discount. I believe it's 10% off of your membership, but you're also going to be directly supporting the show. So please do that. It helps a lot. Anything you want at Go Hunt or Outdoor Class, please use my code QUEST, and you're going to be helping me out personally. So anyway, use that code, go and get yourself an insider membership, get into the giveaway. I'm going to announce the winner for the giveaway before January 16th when I leave for Mexico with Brian and Ryan and Brad. So I know I've been saying a lot of stuff. Thanks for bearing with me. If you just want to get into the Remi part, I get it, but almost done. I wanted to share something I used to do a lot. I still do from time to time, but whenever a Bible verse kind of comes up that sort of reminds me of my guest that week, I like to share that in the intro. So when I was preparing for this interview with Remi, the verse that came to mind for me was Matthew 7:13 through 14, and that's from the ESV. And it says, this is Jesus talking. He says, "Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few." So I think it's a great verse. It's just so true. If you just kind of go with the flow and just do the easy thing, the gates to destruction are wide and easy. But Remi is a guy who has lived his life doing things the hard way. He just got through hunting an entire season with a mouth tab because he had a wrist injury. He bow hunts almost exclusively. He does rifle hunt, but he bow hunt. He does things intentionally that are hard. He self-films recurve spot and stalk antelope hunts. Like, how much more can you stack the odds against yourself? He likes doing things the hard way, and because of it, he's literally like a living legend. And so I tried to, approach this interview in a way to kind of get, we address the spiritual side of things and try to hit some stuff, from an angle that he hasn't really talked about much publicly. So I think it's a unique conversation. I think you guys will enjoy it. So be like Remi and do what Jesus says and take the narrow path, because that's the way to go. And those who find it are few. But if you do find it, it's life and life to the fullest. So enjoy this episode, guys, with Remi. Thanks for bearing with me and listening to all this stuff I've been talking about. Use those codes at Go Hunt. Use that code QUEST. Thank you guys for your support. Go to Instagram, share this, tag a buddy, get entered to win that giveaway, and enjoy this episode, guys. See you on the next one. Welcome to the 100th episode of the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter, and I'm here with a special guest today, Remi Warren. How you doing, brother?
Really good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Congratulations on 100 episodes. That's a good run. So
yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate you making time for me. I know you're busy, and actually, I saw you last year at the expo. I was sitting down to get sheep feet molded, and I look over and you were sitting there doing it at the exact same time, and I was like, oh, that's Remi Warren.
Oh yeah, right.
But I didn't want to be that guy to just come over and fanboy out or anything. So
no, I like talking to anybody really. I like it. So
I figured we'd talk at some point, so I was like, I'll just wait till I actually have something to say to him.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's good. I got those. Have you been running those sheep feet for a little while?
Yeah, I use them all season. I find that they keep my feet from really like a lot of times, when you're like super steep stuff, my feet get really like raw on the bottoms.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like it keeps my feet like in place so don't get that rubbing as much on the bottom.
totally.
Yeah. Do you like them?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I used like the super feet for a long time. And I think that once I just switched over to the sheep feet just to give them a run around. And I feel like you just get like fatigued less, I think. And then I like to run like a more flexible sole boot,
Yeah, me
but then
too.
have like a pretty stout insole in there. So it's kind of a quick combination of like, it's my little cheat code for going like, instead of breaking in a pair of mountain boots, which takes forever.
Yeah.
There's some benefits to them because they last longer, right? But mountain boots with a real stiff sole, I guess is the
Right.
caveat. But I found like the combo of the increased support from the insole combined with a more flexible sole, it works in a lot more terrain types and is more quiet and has like zero break in. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It's my like little running gun
No,
technique.
that's good because I'm from like flatland, so like I didn't know anything about boots when I started this whole thing. And my first trip ever, I got a super stiff pair of like crispy guide boots, and I did break them in. I wasn't that dumb, but still, like it changed the way I walked, and like just completely like they didn't fit right, and so now I wear like Tatra lights from Hanwag, like super light, flexible. I can't do anything stiff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what I'm doing. I'll switch around the type of boot that I use, but for just like quick break in, super comfortable, works pretty
Yeah.
much everywhere. That's what I like to do now. I don't know. That's my go to.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned can I say about your wife? Is that public knowledge? Being prego?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
So
fine. What'd you
yes. So you're about to have, I mean I could have edited it out if I had to, but you're about to have number 2, huh?
Yeah, number 2 on the way here pretty soon. So
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
When's the due date?
The end of January or mid-January.
Okay. So, and I think I had mentioned to you, like, we just got back today from an ultrasound for ours, number 3.
Oh wow.
And I just got the confirmation from my wife that the timing is such that I can still go to Alaska.
Oh, that's perfect.
Which makes me wonder, did you guys like, so I was pretty specific about like, hey, let's try in this window. So, I'll be around like when the baby's born. Did you guys like think about that, or is it just kind of?
Oh yeah. It's definitely planned out because we didn't want, we're having the baby at the beginning of the open window, but we're shooting for any time from essentially beginning of February, which if the baby comes a little bit late, like the last one did, it'll be the beginning of February. So whatever. And then between there and June is kind of our window that works for kids. Outside of that, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to plan these things, but I mean, you're pretty much hunting year round, though. I mean, so it's got to be a little tougher to plan.
It is, yeah. That's what it's like. There's the New Zealand season, but that's in that March, April, May kind of time frame.
Okay,
goes into June as well, but and then or like at least the South Pacific time frame is kind of that March, April, May. Depending on what you're hunting. And then, so that's kind of like the September, October, November of the South Pacific, really.
Okay.
So I've got a very small window of like here and here, before that and after that.
And my wife thought it was weird that I was trying to time it out with hunting season, but I'm like, this is normal. Like, this is good life planning.
Totally.
Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, I'm really excited about that. Like, I literally just found out a couple hours ago that the trip is on, and I mean, obviously, I'm happy. First and foremost, that it's a healthy, baby and everything. But secondarily, I was stoked that this trip could still happen because it's not easy to get to Alaska these days, man.
No, what are you hunting up there?
So it's caribou hunt.
Oh, nice.
My first backcountry trip ever was actually like a DIY walk-in caribou hunt in Alaska. We didn't get anything. And I actually had a sheep hunt planned with Jeremy from Rogue.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he actually texted me a couple months ago. Was like, man, I don't want to take you on a 10-day camping trip. He's like, there's not really any legal rams in my spot right now, and he sent me back my deposit.
Yeah, that's what I talked to him the other day, and he said that they just weren't finding the sheep that they want to, so they just told everybody, nah, no more sheep. We're going to do the draw hunt, but not that
Yep.
hunt, which is
Joe is
cool
actually,
because that's
yeah,
it's a big trip, man.
it is a big trip, and I'm really stoked that he was like straight up with me. And honestly, I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise because I really want to get like my caribou since I kind of went on that trip before, and it's huge cost savings, and this is still going to be like a really cool and like more DIY type adventure. Like we're gonna get I talked to a outfitter who's gonna basically give us a ride up. They usually do drop camps, but they're
Yeah,
just gonna give us a ride up on an off day because they were booked like 2 years out, and drop us with all our own stuff, and we're just gonna float out.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
that works. That'll be
so
fun.
I'm pretty stoked about it, man. Um, and you are a prolific podcaster as well, no?
I guess so. I mean, I do podcast.
But you've done a lot, right?
Say that again.
You've done a lot though, right?
Yeah. I mean, we do weekly podcasts, Live Wild podcast. It previously was called the Cutting the Distance podcast,
Right.
but now it's Live Wild podcast. And
Why
yeah,
the changeover?
I actually didn't. I don't know. I didn't technically own the other podcast, so I couldn't take it with me. So I just wanted to branch off and have control over everything. So
I got you.
I switched the name and everything.
Because did MeatEater buy that one, or they owned it already, or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Cool, man. So yeah, I know you just got off of. I guess is this the first podcast you've done other than your own since kind of like a full hunting season with the mouth tab?
I actually did one with guys from Pope and Young like yesterday. I think it was. Or
Okay.
a couple days
Well,
ago.
maybe
I don't
mine
know.
will release first.
I don't even know. Yeah, I think it probably will. I don't know the release schedule or anything.
Okay.
That's probably going to be timed around their convention, would be my guess. But
Yeah.
so yeah, it probably is the first one outside of starting shoot with that mouth tab.
Cool, man. So, if people don't know, I think a lot of people who listen probably do know, but you had a wrist injury, which required you to think of a plan B for. Did you ever even think about picking up a rifle, or was it just like I'm gonna figure it out some other way?
Oh, I mean, I still rifle hunted, but it wasn't to be well for a couple of things. First off, I prefer to bow hunt. I mean, I love bow hunting. I do more bow hunts than rifle hunts every year.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the tags that I had or hunts that I'd planned were archery hunts. And I didn't want to give up bow hunting. And then the other thing was, it was actually for me, I couldn't operate a rifle. So, like the thought of like not bow hunting and then picking up a rifle wasn't actually even a possibility because
Gotcha.
I couldn't move my fingers. I couldn't do a lot of things. So I felt like I couldn't safely handle a firearm for a long time. Loading, unloading,
Yeah.
all the, safety, like it was just a very cumbersome, weird process.
Right.
And also the shock from shooting the rifle transferred to the hand that didn't work. So,
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. I did end up shooting a rifle and it was awkward. I didn't like it. But, it's funny because like, it's a lot easier to shoot a bow with your mouth than a rifle with your mouth for sure. So,
Yeah, I can see that.
I went that route too. And it wasn't, for me, it didn't take me that long to kind of figure it out. I kind of took to it pretty quick, but I shoot a lot of different kinds of bows, trad bows and long bows, recurves, compound bows. I've been shooting a bow my whole life. So just to shoot it a little bit different only took like a day,
Yeah.
kind of what I felt like kind of get into it. And then, of course, over the course of the season, you learn things maybe that you didn't learn shooting in your backyard while you're hunting that,
Sure.
maybe was different than shooting with your hand. But for the most part, it was just a kind of a fun journey and something different.
Yeah.
I kind of had to change a little bit of hunting style and tactics in some ways, but I think overall it definitely made me a better hunter in the long run.
Yeah. Like I said, it's kind of like it's almost like starting over again. Not completely, but did you do any recurve stuff with it, or just with your compound?
I did, yeah. I went on one hunt with my longbow, or
Oh,
was I
okay.
actually? It's like a long curve they call it, but yeah, I did do a spot and stalk antelope hunt with it. Unfortunately, I wish I would have picked it up sooner in the hunt because I only had like one day left, and I almost killed a great pronghorn like spot and stalk with a recurve mouth tab.
Oh my
It would have been
gosh.
so epic. I snuck into 15 yards and waited for him to stand up. He was bedded. And when I was sitting there and I kind of had like in my head what I was going to do, and it was stupid. I should have just shot more instinctive than I was planning on using like the point on, which in my practice with it, point on was 20 yards. I didn't think I was going to, I was too close. And so I just put the point on like on his heart and he jumped the string a bit. I didn't really account for how slow that arrow was going, even at 15 yards, and how loud that recurve went off. And it went right over his back, like a combination of the ducking and the jumping, and then using my point on. It just made it too high.
Wow.
And I would have, had I just shot, like the gap and just a little more instinctive how I normally shoot. But when you crawl into a position and you've got too much time to think, it was more of like a failure by analysis in many ways. I was thinking back, going, that was dumb, but it was very close too. So that was pretty cool. I think if I had one more day, I would have been able to make it happen. It was close.
Are you filming that one too?
Yeah, I wasn't self-filming. I had a buddy with
me.
We were cruising around, and it made it a lot easier. I self-filming that one would have been pretty tough.
That's really stacking stuff against yourself.
Yeah, it is for sure.
So yeah, is that you? Didn't you win one of the tags from the expo last year?
Yeah, but it's a kind of a weird story. I won it, and then I never saw it on my profile, so I called them and I was like, "Hey, how long do I have to buy this on my thing?" They're like, "Oh, you have until the beginning of the season," which turns out to not be true. And I went back in there. I never saw it on my profile to purchase it, and I tried calling them like multiple times. Nobody ever called me back. So I don't know. Because
that's weird.
I never got an email saying confirming it. I saw my name on the thing. I called.
Yeah, I saw it. I was checking for my name. And I was like, "Oh, Remi Warren."
Saw any correspondence. So I was like, "That's really weird." So I think that I ended up finding it like a month ago. It got moved to my spam, and I didn't know like where to go to do the thing. And then by the time I contacted them, they'd already given the tag away to someone else. So I was so glad it wasn't a sheep tag, because I had a bunch of other hunts stacked in there, and it was fine. But I just thought it was really weird that I got no notification of anything. Well, it just happened to be blocked in spam. So if you get an expo tag, it's just like a warning to everyone. Double check your spam. I even searched in my spam and just couldn't find it. I was like, man, what? It came from a weird email. Just something to think about. And then there is a gap between when they announce it and when you can actually purchase the tag. And if you don't have that notification, man, it's like, how do you know? I didn't know the timing or anything like that, but I guess you got to buy it by June 1st. And then when it came out, so I checked a couple times and it wasn't out yet, apparently. And then nobody ever got back to me, and I never had an email confirming. So I was like, did I actually win, or was it another Remi Warren? Right. Which, I mean, sounds rare, but I've met other ones. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. I was like, did I actually win it? I tried. Yeah. That was a bummer.
Yeah. Because I was looking for mine, and I was like, oh, Remi Warren won one. That's cool.
Yeah. Did you get one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But still, I put in for it again just because I think it's totally worth it. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if I'll ever do it again.
Yeah, well, coming from that story, I probably wouldn't either. But
it's probably not yeah. And people would be like, "You're an idiot, man. You didn't." And I was like, "Yeah, but you would think that you would get some kind of notification that you actually got the tag, other than your name on the website, right?" Like I got nothing. And unfortunately couldn't. I mean, I was searching the email, trying to call people. And I was like, it looks like it should be on there. I was like, well, it's not on there. I don't know. So it was weird. I think they could streamline that process and have it like when you win, like here's where you go to click the verify, some kind of thing.
No, totally.
And a part of it was on me, right? But I was also like in the middle of 2 surgeries, and it wasn't like a great time to figure it out. So I didn't end up hunting that tag or getting that tag.
Okay.
Which is it's funny because I started doing that expo thing when it started. I used to exhibit for my outfitting there, and there was days where it was like that show. You could go bowling down the aisleways, and there was no one there. And
really?
I applied for those tags, and everyone is like, the odds were probably like 1 in 20 when it started, and now it's like 1 in 50,000,
Yeah,
so it's just completely changed.
it
And
has. That thing was nuts last year.
yeah, dude, it was crazy. So yeah, to see my name on there, I was pretty stoked.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Well,
yeah,
back to the mouth tab stuff. So, what, I mean, it must have been, like I said, not completely starting over, but, taking something that's super intuitive and you're, really good at, you've been doing it a long time and just completely throwing a wrench in, kind of change the whole game. I mean, what did you learn from that whole thing? Like, did it make you a better hunter and like in what ways? Like, what did you learn from all that?
yeah. I mean, I think it definitely made me a better hunter in a few areas. I think you get like in some shots you're able to make, and actually, I've kind of changed my hunting style like before this, where my thought was like, just because I can shoot 60 yards means I should probably get to 20 yards. And once you start doing that, man, you just like, I don't know if this makes sense, but guys will shoot all summer and they're like, man, I'm just drilling it out to 80. Right. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
great. And then they go on a stock and they get to 70 and they're like, yeah, this is it. And then they take that shot, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of getting to where your maximum is, getting to your close, like this is close enough where you can't mess up. And so I just rather take that like risk of, I'd rather blow it by trying to get closer than blow it by taking a further shot. I switched to the kind of that mentality because a lot of the animals that I would hunt are really jumpy, and it a certain yardage, man, they jump the string, game's over, you blew your chance, and you could have just got closer to where they would still jump, but you'd still hit within the zone of fatality. So the mouth tab, I just treated it like I've got to hunt it like it's a trad bow, essentially 30 yards and in. And by doing that and picking my right shots, and I found a lot of success. I don't know if there was a tag that I wanted to fill that I didn't fill,
Nice.
which is crazy because going into it, I was like, I'm not gonna shoot anything this year, and I ended up shooting like my best mouflon on like a Hawaii draw hunt. I shot a good mature mule deer buck in Nevada, which I think that's probably the hardest archery hunt there is.
Yeah, I think I
And
saw
then,
that. That's the one. You guys have a video of it, and he like
yeah,
jumps across the canyon, kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. Got a couple caribou this year with it, an elk on a OTC hunt that I only had 2 or 3 days
Wow.
to hunt. I actually have a video of that coming out here at the end of the week.
Sweet.
What else? A pronghorn, like spot and stock pronghorn. So pretty much
That's legit.
every hunt, and then some stuff in New Zealand as well, like a really good fallow buck in some pretty open country. So sometimes you're just like, man, it's not going to be possible. And then you get in there and you hunt to however you're going to hunt, and you plan your stocks a little bit better, and you just find that like play a little bit of a patience game in some ways too. And I found a lot of success doing it. So kind of surprising. Like it might be one of my most successful bow hunting seasons, and I was hunting with a mouth tab.
Wow.
So who knows? Maybe I won't go back. Right.
That was my next question. Like, are you excited to ditch it? Or are you like kind of like liking it?
No, I'm excited to ditch it.
Yeah.
I just last week started shooting a regular release. I can't get very many reps in, but
Gotcha.
yeah, it was interesting. It's weird because I haven't shot like a bow like that for about a year. So it was weird kind of feeling, it just felt weird. But I thought, well, it's a good, just starting over again in some ways. Like that's the longest gap I've ever gone in my life. Like I don't even know if I've gone a week without shooting a bow that way. And
so
then
no pain or anything?
Oh no, I mean it wasn't the most comfortable thing. That's why I couldn't get a lot of reps in.
Right.
But good enough where I was shooting normal. I'm lower poundage bow than I normally would shoot, about 65 pounds. Like, and probably in a month or so, I'll just bump it up to 70. And then, yeah, it was fun. It was nice to be able to do that. And you feel like once I've got that, I'm like, oh, everything is so dead, right? Like you go from something to each year, and you're like, oh yeah, this is like game changing, right?
Yeah.
There. So I'm excited to be able to have that. The plus side to the mouth tab, there's a couple things you could, if you kind of angled your head right, range at full draw. Plus, you can adjust your.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. Outside of that, though, I think it'll be nice to go back.
You got already 2023 kind of mapped out, or somewhat?
Yeah, Yeah, a little bit. As much as you
As much as you
can.
can, right?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the game's changed in the last, I would say, since 2020, because just like the availability of tags is less. Um, I feel like it's just harder to get tags
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
I hate like having to wait because like I'm trying to plan out like content and stuff too, and it's like I have 4 points in Wyoming for elk, so I supposedly should draw a general elk tag in Wyoming, but I'm hearing some people say I might not.
yeah,
And I have enough to draw one in Montana too, but I can't like do because what if I draw both of them? It's like you know what I mean. I can't give it back, so it's tough, man.
yeah, it is. It's really tough. You gotta, yeah, and then you just don't know too, right? Like, I put in for a lot of tags, a lot of places. I've played the application game. I mean, luckily for me, I had like foresight when I was 16 to
I
be
know,
thinking
man.
about. This was before people were applying in other states, and I started applying in Utah and some other places. I mean, I can't remember. I think I've got like 22 points in Utah for everything you could. I
That's
mean, and then
amazing.
7 or whatever the max is since they opened it up to everything. But, you know, and you would think like I've got friends that apply for the same tag as me with 2 or 3 points, and they've drawn. I've got two friends that applied for the same tag as me. I had 20 points. They had like 2 or 3, and they drew the tag. So
Wow.
you just don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, man. Hope you have a good season. But so kind of like just talking about your career and stuff. I know I've listened to you on other podcasts and stuff, and kind of talking how your career to kind of get to where you are was very intentional. But I'm sure there's a lot of people want to tell you you can't do stuff as awesome as this as a job. So did you have a lot of people like in the beginning say, "Oh, that's dumb," or "Oh, nobody does that," or "You can't make a living doing that," kind of stuff like that? And how'd you kind of push through those?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, you just definitely encounter people like that, right?
Yeah,
Uh, man, I was in the mountains so much that I didn't really talk to many people, to be 100% honest. Like,
yeah,
it didn't really matter what people said because I wasn't around that many people. So that wasn't too big of a stumbling block for me. I think that there is that thing though. It was, I'd be around people and they didn't really get it, and they're like, "Oh, there's no way,
yeah,
what are you doing?" But I think that like it didn't really matter to me. I just didn't really care.
yeah,
Uh, I could see though, there was a time where it just kind of got annoying where people just like didn't understand what you were, they'd be like, "Hey, let's, well, I think the major thing was in order to do what I wanted to do, I knew that I had to put in a lot of work, and that
hmm
work excluded me from a lot of things. But to me, those other things weren't as important. So I think that, people be like, "Oh, why are you doing this?" or whatever. Like they didn't understand that I knew what I wanted, and I knew what I wanted to do took a lot of time and dedication. And so that's what I did. And,
yeah,
and I think that like you'd meet people in life that just kind of didn't understand that. Like, "Oh, well, why can't you do this? Or why can't you do that?" It's like, "Well, no, I gotta work." "Well, what's your work? Hunting?" And it's like, "Well, yeah, yes,
yeah,
guiding and starting an outfitting business and doing all these things." I mean, when I was 22 years old, I ran my own outfitting business in Montana. I
wow,
worked for a magazine 40 hours a week for free,
mm,
doing editing and other things. I also I really loved filming and other stuff. So, I mean, I filmed everything, and which ended up helping me get on television because I was essentially filming TV shows that didn't exist, and just having them just to do it, just to get the experience.
yeah,
And so I think like people just didn't understand that, I worked really hard and put in a lot of time and hours. And then, they're like, "Well, why don't you go do this with us?" And it's like, "Well, I can't."
yeah,
So I think that part might have made.
yeah. You kind of have to. I saw something on Instagram the other day. It was like basically, I mean, it was like Nick Saban, I think, but he's basically the gist of it was like if you want to be like exceptional or elite or whatever, it takes like a different level of dedication. If you want to like do something this badass for a job, like you got to do things other people probably aren't willing to do, right?
Yeah, I think I remember getting people would ask, and the comment that would make me the most mad is like, "What's the easiest way to do what you want to do?" Like, you'll never do it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you just don't get it.
yeah. Or a lot of kids, like not kids, but younger guys getting into it. Like they're like, oh, I don't want to go do this because they're not paying me enough, or it's not paid, or whatever. But like you said, you were doing that stuff you're doing it just because you love it, and you're doing it just to get reps and working at the magazine for no money. I mean, sometimes you got to like pay your dues, especially in an industry like this.
Oh, 100%. Like I had so much experience. I mean, there was not like, I think I'm trying to think when I started working. It might have been even before that when I started working for the magazine. But I mean, there was no one my age, right, that had the experience that I had. I'd been full-time hunting guide since I was 18.
Hmm.
I took the spring and summer semesters in college, so I essentially had from I think it was like just before August all the way through January off, and I would use that time to guide and hunt and do my thing, work, and then go to school in the off season. While I was doing that, I was, working for a magazine for free. I ended up becoming an editor of the magazine at 22 years old, which
Wow.
no one I knew that age had that experience. Like it was just, I was resume building. I wanted to do something that no one else had done as fast as no one else and anyone else had done that.
Yeah.
And so I think that like I had the experience. I also had like and then through the magazine, we had done filming stuff and other things. And then I just continued to film, and people were like, oh yeah. And then you did TV stuff. And I was like, yeah, I did TV stuff for 5 years for free. Like I lost money. Like it just was everything that I worked for in my outfitting business to fund the filming and the other things. Because I love to do it. And like I saw the value of like putting in that time and doing that and working hard and building the resume, because like, man, why would someone hire you or whatever, right, if you don't have the experience? So
yeah,
that's the way that I did it. There's different I think if you talk to 100 people, you get 100 different answers, but I just didn't know any other way to do it.
So I've been recently watching more like Sportsman Channel and Outdoor Channel and stuff. But before that, I didn't have it until like pretty recently. So honestly, I didn't even really know about Apex Predator until I kind of started like researching you a little bit more for this podcast. But it seemed like a pretty cool concept for a show. How'd you get into that? And then I guess really like, why did you stop doing it?
Yeah, I that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that show. It was different. It was originally a show, I think, slated for Animal Planet or something.
Yeah, because I saw you did some like cool like stuff like with the octopus and stuff like that, kind of outside the hunting, but still related to hunting. Kind of some cool stuff like that.
Like bringing the hunting in. So we were just, for people that haven't seen it, I looked at the way nature specialized at something, and then I wanted to see how humans compared, and then see if I could go out and like replicate what nature does. So we observed an animal, the way that they hunted, the way they adapted, and then like would see the human technologies and the way that we could kind of take those things. And I learned some really cool stuff doing the project. It was a lot of fun. It was a fairly big, obviously like a fairly big time commitment, which wasn't a problem. But also, I think that show, we ended up going to the Outdoor Channel and Sportsman Channel or whatever, because this company that produced it was out of New York, and they also did MeatEater and among other shows. But and then I think it was just like the timing of it was a little off, because like television was going down. The price of that show was really expensive because it was originally a show for a larger network. So I think that like the combination of those things, like drop in total TV viewership, still not like going mainstream with downloading, like streaming yet, where streaming was like a thing, but it was kind of just starting. Like people, isn't that weird to think about? Like streaming wasn't really a thing, and that's not long ago.
Yeah.
I remember like being in meetings and talking and telling people like, yeah, we got to get on this streaming train. Like, I don't know about that, network.
That's a fad.
It just starts plummeting. I mean, it's like within 2 years, network TV just like tanked. So those were kind of some of the things that, just made it a short run, but it was a lot of fun when we did it. Yeah. And I thought it was a good show.
No, it is a cool concept. And so I guess I'm probably going to be like announcing this officially or whatever, like during the intro to this, since it's the 100th episode, but I'm actually launching a show on Sportsman next year.
Cool.
in quarter 3, and that's kind of why I was interested in that. But do you plan on still continuing to like rolling out the YouTube content, stuff like that, or where do you see yourself going forward as far as in terms of video stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just like releasing it on so many different platforms now, like through YouTube
Yeah,
primarily. I didn't, I spent a lot of my time in the past, dedicating toward television type stuff. And I never really messed with YouTube for a while just because there was only so much time to do certain things.
yeah,
And then like this last year just decided, and then a lot of my content was is still on Instagram,
yeah.
different platforms, but I feel like
And
YouTube's
I
pretty
feel
good
like a
out
guy
there.
like you, who you have already sort of like an audience and like a following, you know, not saying that you didn't work for it because you did obviously work very hard for it. But what I'm trying to say is like, now, if you put something on YouTube, like it's going to be widely viewed because people are like, oh, it's legit. It's Remi Warren. You know what I mean? A guy starting out like right now, YouTube is just like, it's so tough. Like I could put on, and I'm not saying I do, but I could theoretically put on like the best hunting film ever created, and like it'll probably still get like 2 or 3 thousand views or something, just because that's just where I'm at, like.
Right.
Um, so I'm hoping that even if because going back to like you were saying with the naysayers and stuff, like I have a friend I won't mention in the industry, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing the show or whatever, and he's like, oh, you're an idiot, like that's stupid, like hunting shows never make like just telling me I was an idiot and like not to do it. And I was like, you know what, like even if this thing quote unquote fails and I go 2 seasons and just break even or like lose a little bit, I don't care. Like it's gonna be an awesome experience. I'm gonna learn a ton about TV, which I have a TV background, but I never like produced a show on my own. So it was like, and it'll just, it'll help get my name out there, even if it's not like the next MeatEater or whatever. Like, even if it's a fail, it's gonna be a win in my book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Like you just don't know unless you try. That's the
Yeah,
reason, like most people, it just, yeah, if you don't try it, you don't know. Right.
exactly.
And I honestly think like there is kind of a swing back into some of that stuff, especially because like you can be like on Amazon Prime now. I just kind of checked this out a couple weeks ago because I wanted to see an episode of Western Hunter that I was like, I love when they hunt in
Dude, I
Nevada.
love that show.
So I'm like, all right. And they'll send me the episodes, but I was like, it's just easier not to ask for anything. And I just
Yeah,
went and got the subscription, like just through Amazon Prime, right?
yeah,
And it's just okay, yeah. Now you've got all the stuff streaming, and I
yeah,
feel like there is kind of a swing back to some of that stuff as well.
for sure. And it's
I've
not
even
like,
played around with that idea of like bringing back a show,
yeah. And the thing is, you're hitting an audience that is still very much. There still is a big audience for linear TV. It's different. It's a little bit of an older audience, but has some, expendable income and loves to hunt. And so, anyway, I can talk to you more about the concept of the show later, but it's going to be kind of unique. But all I'm trying to say is like, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive because I can release all my episodes on YouTube as soon as like the quarter ends or whatever, you
yeah,
know? So it's like, why not?
yeah, exactly. That's cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, I think you'll do real well. It's like, and it's a lot of fun, right? It's fun to
Yeah,
be creative, to create something and share it with people.
for
It's a
sure.
lot of fun to do that. So,
It is
yeah,
fun.
cool.
How did you link up with Tim, and what was that whole dynamic like?
Oh, for Solo Hunter.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was funny because I was like, I think I was watching Outdoor Channel or something one day, and the Solo Hunter thing came up, and there it was like he kind of had his own little ad in there, like, hey, if you've got some solo filmed content, uh, send it to us, and we'll, like whatever. It was like almost like
yeah,
a contest, right? And I was like, well, like I had said, for the past however many years, I've always loved filming. While I was in high school, I simultaneously went to college as well and took like video broadcast and production technology. So I was like, like my first hunting film I made for my dad with a handy cam and like edited it when I was 11 years old. So it was like, that was something I was always really into.
yeah,
And so I had no clue, like at the time TV was the big, and now there was a
sure.
full channel for hunting stuff. I had no clue how to make a TV show, right? I didn't know what I needed to do, But my thought was like, I went and I got the like a good camera and all the stuff. And I thought like, I'm just going to film the stuff. Like and these are just going to be videos for my friends, but it doesn't really matter because I'm getting that experience of like filming stuff. And a lot of the stuff I didn't have anyone around, so I just started self-filming stuff. So I got the camera, you know what I mean? Like it was just, I didn't have anyone to go with me, so I just started self-filming stuff. So I saw this solo hunter thing, and I was like, I sent him, or I think I sent him an email, like, "Hey man, I've got like, I think I had probably like 45 hunts."
Oh my
and I was like, "Hey, I've got 45 hunts filmed. You know, like they're pretty good. You know, I shot a 220-inch mule deer with my bow. I shot a 300.
Oh my God. That got him looking at the email.
Yeah, like, and he's like, where are you at? And we ended up living like 4 miles away from each other.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like, dude, I'll just come by, show you what I got. I just brought like a box of tapes. They're all like DVD tapes. And then that became like the first 5 seasons of Solo Hunter, dude, which is funny. You know what I mean? So he's like,
That goes back to like we were saying, is like you just did it because you loved it, not because like for some big thing.
Yeah, and I put myself in a position for like an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Like an opportunity were to present itself.
Exactly.
And I didn't even know like that was the opportunity. But if somebody was like, "Oh, hey, a camera," like if I was guiding, because when I was guiding, I'd been on TV shows, but like as the guide,
right.
You know, and to be honest, like the people that were the hunters or whatever were pitiful. It was like, I was like, this is hunting TV. And at the time, whitetails were king.
Oh, dude. Some of it even still to this day is like kind of embarrassing. I mean, honestly, I'm not knocking it or whatever. Like, don't be offended. But 90% of it is still a dude sitting in a box over like a corn feeder or like maybe a food plot. And you're like, dude, do better. Come on.
Yeah. And I mean, there's ways to make that better too, right? But like, it was funny because it was just like these guys that you're the guide, you know, hunting and guide, and you're like, these people have no hunting, like real hunting experience. And I had always thought like a Western big game style, like do it yourself show would have been good. And I'd been told 1,000 times that will never work. And I was like, and they're like, "Hey, you want a show? Why don't you do this?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm just going to do my thing." And it turns out,
did they think that it wouldn't work? Did they think he would be like too expensive to produce, or they think people wouldn't like watching it, or both?
No one would want to watch it.
Interesting. Well, they were wrong, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I think.
Well, that's cool, man. So, and then like, what was? So you said he took those, and that was the first 5 seasons of like he used what you had, and you guys just went with it.
Yeah, for the most part. I think definitely that stuff that I'd already had was definitely 2 or 3 seasons. And then, you know, and then we kind of caught up by like, it got better. But I think like season 4 or 5 was it was the sweet spot because a lot of the stuff that I filmed before wasn't for something specific. It was.
Did he hire you? Was he buying the stuff from you, or was it pro bono at first?
Yeah, pro bono.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, I mean, my first gig, I did get paid. It was a filming gig, but I got paid like, I mean, I don't even think it covered all my expenses. It probably just barely covered my expenses, but I just knew it was like a good opportunity, and that led to a lot of, you know, trickling other opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I also, have you ever read the book, just a little bit of a transition here, but you ever read the book, Wild at Heart? Have you ever heard of that?
Who wrote it? Do you know?
No, I should have looked that up.
It sounds familiar, but
it's like a nonfiction about basically like men and like why we are the way we are and stuff. But he basically says like all men need a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue. It's like in our DNA. Does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah, it sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, man. And like I was thinking about it, and I was just listening to that the other day. It's a good book if you guys are out there listening, or Remi if you want to check it out. But it's on audiobook too. And then I heard the Rogan podcast that you did.
Oh yeah.
And heard the story of your wife, which is incredible. I don't want to like suck up too much time, even though it's an awesome story. But like since you've told it before. Basically, before they were married, Remi's wife got lost in the wilderness for 3 days, right?
Yep.
Almost died, and you found her.
Yeah, that's correct.
which is like, so, in the book it's talking about a beauty to rescue, and like most of us, it's very much like kind of, you know, not in the literal sense, but like you literally rescued your wife.
Yeah, that is true. Yep. Yeah.
So you had,
So, it's like I can always hold that over her head. Like, yeah, remember that time I saved your life?
does it work?
No.
Yeah. But you're telling the story, and you're talking about how you just set out and you said, I'm paraphrasing you, but you said, I prayed, I think you said I prayed to God or something that I would see something or whatever, and you saw a track, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was literally just praying, like, give me a sign that she's like here. And I looked down and I'm like, there's some scuff marks and like not even a track. I mean, this is like, middle of nowhere, middle of the dark. And I just started following it. And then it kind of got lost in this flat plateau. And I just had this weird feeling there. I was like, I feel like she's here.
Wow.
Uh, but then I left that spot. And then because I saw a light like up on the mountain, thinking that maybe they got a FLIR system for us. And then so I left that spot and then radioed my brother and my buddy and was like, hey guys, like we gotta like reposition and be ready. So we're gonna like get on high points and be glassing first thing in the morning when the sun came up. But wanted to go back to that spot that I just had that weird feeling at. And then I went back to that spot and then, yeah, just like sat down, yelled like, hey, Danielle, if you can hear me, this is Remi. I'm not leaving till I find you. And then I just heard her yell my name. And I was like, whoa. I was like, but it's so faint. I was like, am I making this up? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it was the way the canyon was like this big basin with a bunch of cliffs around. And so I didn't know if she was like, I'd seen it before it got like, I knew like the topography of it. But I didn't know if like she was across the way or whatever. And I didn't want that to be the only time that I heard anything. Because like it's just like if she replied again, so I turned off my radio, like I was like moving in that direction as quiet as possible, as fast as possible. And, yelled out again. And she was right below me about 300 yards. And,
Dang.
yeah,
What'd
it was
that
pretty
feel like, man?
crazy, man. Like a very interesting rush of emotions because when I was looking for her, I didn't know if I was like going to ever find her. Right. I didn't know if I was going to find a dead body. I didn't know if I was like, there was weird reports of like, I don't know, like sometimes these situations, it's like they were working off a lot of different information. And there was information of like the dogs went up the canyon, they came back. And then there was reports of a van with Mexico plates leaving the area. So like half the people were like, oh, she was taken.
Jeez.
Like that's just a really horrible feeling. Like you're like,
Yeah.
are we just looking around for somebody that was essentially abducted?
Which is probably like worse than dying in the desert.
Yeah, I would think so. So you're like, okay, this is like how long? Like when you're looking, you're like, is this going to be like how long? You know what I mean? Like, is this going to be years of look? Like, you just don't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was a horrible experience. I mean, it turned out good, but like in the moment, it was very.
Yeah. So going back to that moment when you saw the scuff mark, like presumably you believe in God. Like, do you think he heard your prayer and literally like helped you find her?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, we were just everyone I knew was praying, including myself. Because we didn't know what was going to happen, but we knew it wasn't going to be good if something didn't happen then. And yeah, I don't know. And
do you consider yourself a spiritual person?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind talking about it, or is it private?
Oh no, I mean I don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, let's hear it. It's
Yeah,
kind of one of the themes of the podcast is spirituality. Well, basically, just to give you a little background. So, I always thought there was tons of great content out there, especially in hunting, about physical fitness and mental toughness. But I see us as triune beings, the spirit being the third piece of that, and no one was really talking about it. So it's kind of one of the themes I have of the podcast.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I think that like in life, like I attribute a lot of the things to God, and that's why I am where I am too. Like I have a lot of faith in things, and I have a lot of faith in God as well. But also, I feel like it's one of those things, man. It's like I don't know. I don't know if I would have been able to find her. It's just like the coincidence of timing would be too strange on that one. You're like literally
Yeah.
pray and like look down and be like, maybe I'll follow this, right?
Yeah.
Like that's pretty crazy. So
And the fact that when you called out, she was like very close to you
yeah, like right in that spot where I had that feeling of
because
like,
she was on like the brink of death. Like she couldn't yell probably even.
no, no. And I think like too, like being so dehydrated, so out of it, like just not even knowing. I didn't realize like that was my first experience of like somebody in one of those scenarios where it's just like they're so out of it. Like she was hallucinating me, right? Like that's you just like you hear these stories of people like snowmobiling and then found dead because they like have no jackets on, right? Like they
Mm.
just it's yeah, like your body just shuts down and mostly your mind shuts down first, you know. I think
Yeah.
that's a heat stroke, waking up like where you don't know where you are. It's just a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, I felt like I don't know if you thought about this before, but it almost seems like God like created you and like gave you all these life experiences and literally like prepared you for like the most important hunt of your life, which is like
Oh,
hunting for your wife.
totally. Yeah. Like I mean, I think about that a lot. Like I had a like Liam Neeson style. I had a certain set of skills, right? Like
Exactly. Like,
very
because
good at
they had been there.
finding things.
Like, I tell people to go back and listen to the episode with Joe Rogan because there was like a crew of like actual people whose job it is to find lost people, and then you came in and found her like in a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Like there was a Black Hawk helicopter searching. There was all this stuff, right? But yeah, and I think yeah, it was pretty cool that I was the one to find her, and that she was found.
Do you think God prepared you for that moment?
Oh yeah, I think like my whole life prepared me for that. Like every aspect of it. I think that there's things that like I mean I don't. I think there's something to do with when you spend so much time doing something, you get like you gain a certain skill about it. And I know because I've spent that time. I mean I'm not like I don't like to be like a I don't know. I'm not like a beat my chest kind of guy. Like I just don't like that vibe. I don't like to be that person. But I feel like I've put in the time and I've gained a certain set of skills that most hunters will not gain.
Mm.
I mean, there's years like when I was single, I would spend 323 days out in the wild. I mean, like I lived out hunting, like
Yeah.
through guiding, through my own hunts, through all this stuff. I have thousands of days like doing this stuff, and there's things that I notice that the normal person may never notice in their lifetime. And some of those things are hard to put into words, like how you develop this, right? But I think that that's one of like the things that I'm most like fortunate and proud of in life is that I've gained this skill that is something that I love to do, and I get to experience it at a level that most people will never get to experience. And through what I do, I meet other people that have similar experiences and do this kind of same thing for a living. Most of
Yeah.
them nobody would ever have heard of. But it's fun to get together with those people because you realize like you got like it's funny because like they might be from Africa or New Zealand or wherever, right? And you realize that there's things that you guys like I learned that I nobody taught me that I do that
Mm.
they also do, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's funny like you get into this groove and you start to like develop these skills and other things just through repetition and doing it. And I feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to like have experienced hunting in this way and by spending so much time doing it. Like that to me is kind of the thing that I've always strived for. And so that's the fun part for me. And then it translates into other things, right? Like you go like, okay, finding my wife. And like that was there's things that I learned over the years that I didn't even know I learned that probably led to that work being successful.
Yeah. The greatest hunt of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool, man. Um, so an adventure to live. I think that one's obvious. A beauty to rescue. You got that. What do you think is your battle to fight?
Battle to fight. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, There's a lot of them
Yeah.
probably. I think like in some ways, uh, I don't really know. Trying to
It's a
think.
tough question.
Yeah, no, that is a really tough question. Um,
For me, like in my life, I've had to fight battles of like I have an addiction in my past. I'm not like I'm just telling you my perspective,
yeah,
and also like I was super overweight at one point, um, and so I've had to fight through that stuff. And it could be just the battle to you know continue to live your dream or whatever, you know.
yeah. I mean, you think about it. There's a lot of stuff that you could like put into that category. I'm not saying like it's hard because I don't have any battles to fight, right?
Yeah.
I think for me right now, like the one is I kind of want to be able to create a business around what I do for the people that I work with and that kind of thing. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of work.
For
Um,
sure.
I'm the type of person like I like to like, you know, help people out. That's like one of the things that I really want to be able to do in life is like create a business that's a little bit bigger than just me. And I can do things that are, I don't need anything. Like it's, you see like, oh yeah, it's sheep mount, whatever. But like, for me, like I do the thing that I love to do. And
Yeah.
so like, my wife and I, we don't need to spend a lot. We don't really need to do like, we do our thing, which is going out and hunting and enjoying that. And, I'd like to build something that can help a lot more people. That's kind of one of my goals in life. And I think that, it's been my whole life in the making. And I think that we're kind of getting to that point where it's going to start to come to fruition and put in a lot of work in a lot of different areas. And to see that come to pass is one thing. And then I think
Yeah.
the other thing is like, just balancing that family work kind of thing, because for a lot
Mm-hmm.
of my life, I did things alone. I, put it in a lot of time and spent a lot of time in a tent by myself. Like, so, like to just kind of transition into that, like planning things out better and just, being,
Yeah.
there for my family too, because that's like the most important thing to me, is my family. So,
Absolutely, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, having a kid changes everything, and that's a perfect segue to what I wanted to ask you about. But um, even just like you can't just like throw on your shoes and jacket and run out the door. Like, it takes 20 minutes now. You got to like put shoes on a little person, and you got to like put their car seat, and you know what I mean. Like, it's just everything's. And I'm sure, like you said, going from a life where you literally just are kind of all over the globe, living out of a tent, doing pretty much probably whatever you want, how has your life changed, like how are things different now that you're a dad and coming on dad at two?
yeah, I mean, it's like sometimes the hunts that I go on I would think about like, this one particular hunt before would be like, oh man, I really want to do that like hardcore backcountry hunt, or whatever, and I still do those hunts and I still love those hunts. But one of my favorite hunts was like I had my daughter in our backpack and my wife had a rifle and we were just hunting fallow deer. We were in New Zealand, but
Yeah.
like a hunt that I've probably done 1,000 times, and this was like the most enjoyable one. It was just like a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And there's like all the little. It was kind of fun just trying to figure out the like, okay, how do you take a six, or I guess what was she, like 6 or 8 months old,
That's awesome.
in like on a hunt like that, right?
Yeah.
And like, logistics of it and like the whole game of it, and it was just like a lot of fun. I don't know. I think that like I'm really looking forward to that, sharing the outdoors with my family in the future too. That's cool. Like
100%.
some of my favorite hunting memories were just like with my dad growing up, and
Hmm.
so I want to be able to pass that on and have those kind of memories with my family as well.
Do you know if the next one's a boy or girl yet?
It's a boy. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
excited.
so one of each. Yeah, I think it's cool. Like
Yeah,
I know
I think
you were
girls are
like,
cool
"Oh,
too,
you
but
want a
like,
boy?" Or I was like, I kind of assumed I would have all girls, so I was like, I don't really care.
yeah,
I just want a healthy baby, to be
for
honest.
sure,
Like
absolutely.
I don't put a lot of pressure on that because, to be honest, like I haven't met my son yet, but I think my daughter will be the hunter in the family. Like she is about it, man. She loves deer. She loves being outside. Like she's like a little version of me. So I would
That's
not be
awesome.
surprised if, like, who knows what the next one will be like, but like I can already tell based on her personality, she is all about it.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, so my son's 8 and my daughter's 3, but I already feel like she's gonna be the one wanting to go in the mountains with me more than my son too. Like, I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
just her personality is just like, and like my son's very much more like well behaved and like kind of clean, and you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, that's funny.
but so okay, that's cool, man. I did want to ask you this. This might be kind of an off the wall question, but you've probably arguably spent more time in the woods than a lot of people alive. Definitely, probably as most of my guests. But have you ever seen or heard anything like unexplained in
No,
nature? No?
no, that I mean, no,
Okay.
not that I can think of. Um,
No Bigfoot sightings, huh?
no Bigfoot sightings, you know,
Okay.
no alien encounters,
Okay.
no Yetis.
I've had
Uh,
one experience, but I didn't see it. It was just something I heard, but I don't know. I just was curious.
was it like a growling sound or like a?
No, I was on a solo hunt in the mountains here in Virginia, and obviously I've not spent as much time in the woods as you, but I have been hunting since I was like 7 years old. I've spent a lot of time in the woods. So I've heard a lot of different noises. I heard something moving through the forest, like probably about 100 yards away, but I couldn't see it. It was just coming the other side of like a little ridge. But it literally sounded like a steamroller, like rolling through the foliage, like super loud. And this
Oh
was
yeah.
like no roads anywhere near, no people anywhere near me. The only like if I had to say like, okay, you must explain this in terms of something biological I know of, I would say it would have to have been like at least 3 bears like rolling through the leaves.
I can pose a hypothesis here
Okay,
for
let's all right.
because I've heard the same thing. I thought it was. I was like, so we were in South Dakota. I was guiding in South Dakota, and I heard this sound coming down one of these draws, and it was like in this draw, and it sounded like I was like, "There's no road over here," and it sounds like someone's running a tractor, like a tracked tractor,
Yeah.
right? And I went over there. I found it. It was a flock of like 300 turkeys, and they were
Okay.
scratching through the leaves, and it was so loud. No joke. I thought a tractor was running. Like I
Wow.
thought it was it was the weirdest sound I've never heard anything that loud. And it was like 300, it was like a flock of 300 turkeys like scratching together. And it was in the fall. It was like November, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Did
like
it
the
move?
scratch,
Someone mentioned that to me too,
yeah,
but the other thing that
it
was
was
weird
like
is like it
moving.
moved very fast.
Yeah, it was like probably what happened, like because I had heard it and I'm like, dude, what the hell? And nothing was there. And then I heard it again. So I think like the whole flock of turkeys was like, I guess they group up in the wintertime because I had to ask someone about it. I was like, have you ever heard anything like this? I never heard anything like it.
Yeah.
And the first time it was like moving fast because I think they were running, like they got spooked.
Okay.
And then when we were coming out, I actually found the flock and I was like, dude, that noise, it was down here. And it popped over. It was just like a fat wad of turkeys.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I have
something
had
to think about.
I have had someone else say it could have been that too, so maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, who knows? Either that or a ghost train.
What's that?
Either that or a ghost train. You know?
Yeah. It was crazy. It was the weirdest thing, man. It kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But, so
I will add this though. I thought it was pretty funny. I was in Oklahoma maybe a couple years ago, and I looked up and I said, you know, when you see like a meteor and it's like the fireball kind with the big tail and everything.
yes.
And I was by
Yes.
myself. I
Like
see
they look
that.
super low.
Yeah, it's like boom, like big bright, like the
Mhm.
whole tail, and like really cool. And I was like, whoa, that is cool. I was like, oh man, alien invasion. Just looking around. And 1 second later, I see like a satellite, like all bunched up moving together. And they just launched the Starlink satellites and they hadn't gapped out yet. And I had no clue about this.
Oh wow.
And I was like, this is weird. I could tell based on like how they're following the same pattern that it was like satellites, but I've never seen anything like it because they're real close together.
Yeah.
There's like ones that were further gapped out. So it's like just a train of, I think, like 20 something satellites, but like at the same exact time pre-dawn is like this giant fireball and then like these crazy satellite things that you'd never seen before going around. I guess like there's
That would freak out.
so at least I had service. I was like, I know this is something, but I was like, everybody has to be seeing this, right? So I looked up and there's like people in other countries freaking out, like aliens are coming in and all that.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what is the odds of that timing, right?
I have seen one of those meteors like that, super low, super bright, really big. Like, it's weird.
Oh yeah. That's cool.
So, okay, I don't want to take up too much more time. We're almost done here, but I gotta ask you really quick because I'm pretty interested in it. You know, I'm coming from the East Coast. I do a lot of hunts out west, so that requires, you know, extra logistics and, you know, just extra stuff. So, I'm very attracted to New Zealand, and I'm very attracted to DIY stuff. Just I feel like I learn more even if it takes longer when I like have to figure it out myself. If I like, have a guide or something, like I very much like just check out and go into autopilot and like, okay, I'm following this guy. So I don't like doing that. Not to mention it's just much cheaper, but is New Zealand something that is like legit, like a guy like me with like, you know, some experience, not a ton, but you can actually do it DIY and not like die and be successful?
Not die part, I'm not sure about. That's up to you. The successful part, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely something you can do. I will say it's probably for certain species is the most treacherous country you'll ever hunt. You have to have a certain amount of like mountaineering experience. Like I would say, like tar and chamois hunting in New Zealand is a level 10 out of 10. As far as like what you need to know certain times of the year.
What would
like,
be a good starter for New Zealand?
I mean, that would be too, right? Like you can go as hard or as soft as you want. It's a good backpack trip. There's red deer in the beech forest. It's just steep. You just got to be careful. Like it's something you probably want to, the first time you do it, have somebody with you, like a buddy or something. But yeah, it's absolutely doable. It's definitely very steep, rugged country. When you get into like the winter time in the Alpine, it's very dangerous. Like we hunt with like ropes and crampons and
yeah. I mean, the episode you did with Steve was like, that was sketch, that river crossing.
Oh yeah, totally sketchy. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. And like you just like the thing about it, I kind of recommend for guys like, yeah, you can do it, and you know if you don't want that to be your first backcountry hunt, right?
Right.
Or your first backpack trip or your first like mountain hunt. You want to have some experience because there's a couple reasons that I suggest that. One, for your own safety. I mean, you can get by. Like you know, some people. Just don't put yourself in a stupid situation. Like if it's sketchy, don't do it. Because the thing about it is like the fact that we're allowed to do that is dependent on like people kind of following a certain set of unspoken rules, and those
not
rules
being an idiot.
Don't get yourself into trouble where somebody needs to help you.
Yeah.
Because if that happens a lot, then they're going to shut it down for people, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So
don't abuse it.
Don't abuse it. Yeah. Like don't do something stupid. And every year people do something stupid.
Of course.
And sometimes you aren't doing something stupid, but you put yourself in a bad situation accidentally or whatever. Yeah. I've been in multiple bad situations there. But also like I felt like I had like the skills. I don't know. Sometimes like there's things that I did when I was 22, 23, 24, whatever, late 20s.
Yeah.
That I would never do now. Like, and actually like I'm afraid to do.
Yeah.
You know,
you told another story on the Rogan podcast of that one situation where you like were super scared.
Oh yeah. Like I think
the
like,
lady was cussing you out and slapping you and stuff.
Yeah. Like the most scared I've been, like almost dying on the mountain. Like just when you put yourself in a situation where you might fall to your death, like there's not a lot, like one bad step and you're dead is like a really not settling feeling.
Nah.
I don't like that. Now I don't even like getting close to that kind of country. Like,
yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, it was like, okay, I just got to jump to this rock, and then I'm like in a good position. I'm like, I'm not doing this shit anymore, especially because I only had one hand. You know, I'm not gonna do this.
Do you have like a place over there where you keep a vehicle stashed and stuff like that, and some gear, so you don't have to like take it every time?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've been thinking about trying to like find somewhere in Salt Lake City to like get some old truck and leave it there so I can just fly out with my camera gear and like rifle and just go.
Yeah, that's what a buddy of mine does. He's got like, he rents a storage unit. He's got a Land Cruiser, and then he just And he's got a little camp trailer kind of thing, and he just parks it there. And Salt Lake's like a pretty, you can be
very central.
Yeah, like you're 6-7 hours from anything. Like, and you can get flights there pretty easy.
It's a super nice airport, and it's like right in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty solid.
Interesting. Okay. Well, cool, man. Well, people probably already know, but if they don't, where can they look you up and find more of your stuff you got going?
Yeah, I mean, you always go to, if you want to find anything, go to my website, RemiWarren.com. It's got pretty much links to everything. YouTube at Remi Warren, Instagram at Remi Warren, Live Wild podcast, anywhere podcasts are found.
Sweet. And yeah, you got tons of really good tips and tactics and information on there. I was listening to a bunch of them, so definitely go check out Remy's stuff. He's got great stuff on his YouTube. So yeah, I'm sure you guys already know who he is, but if you don't, go check him out.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. It was fun chatting with you.
Yeah, glad we could connect.
Me too, man.